Congratulations, Frank. Just stay here with me. On the morning of April 15th, 1979, thousands of central New Yorkers picked up the Syracuse Herald-American to learn that a 36-year-old physicist from Camillus had been sent to Middletown, Pennsylvania. He was sent to aid in state and federal response to the accident at the 3 Mile Island nuclear reactor. The name of that young scientist was familiar to members of the Moyne College class of 1964. It was that of their friend and classmate, Frank Congel, who was later cited by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for his, quote, stupendous performance following the accident. During his 31 years at the NRC, Frank was responsible for everything from managing the agency's emergency response program to developing models and early radiation requirements for licensing new nuclear power plants. Frank was sent to one of the nation's heavily fortified response centers to help coordinate efforts there following the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. He is held with the highest regard in his field and has been honored for his exemplary work with the NRC's Meritorious Service Award and Distinguished Service Award, as well as with 2 Presidential Meritorious Service Awards. In addition to being an accomplished scientist and administrator, Frank has also played another incredibly important role, that of teacher. Shortly after earning his doctorate in physics from Clarkson University in 1968, he taught a variety of physics courses at Macalester College in St. Paul, Minnesota. He exposed his undergraduate students to the world outside the classroom, arranging for them to participate in projects at the Argonne National Lab, where he'd studied cosmic ray generating neutrons as a postdoctoral fellow. Today, 45 years after his graduation from Moyne, his work continues. Following his retirement from the NRC in 2005, Frank established a consulting business, completing an assignment for the International Atomic Energy Agency. He helped agency officials prepare for and conduct an international meeting in Moscow on the nuclear power renaissance. With deep appreciation for his exemplary work and for the honor he has brought his alma mater, Moyne College, we present him this award. Frank.
First, I have to say that Kim McAuliffe said that if I talk for too long, they have a special hook to pull me off. So there's probably no worse time to do any talking than after dinner in the evening. But there are a few things I really feel that I'd like to express. And the first, of course, is the thankful feelings that I have to my alma mater for this distinction. I'm really deeply humbled. I'd like to add, though, because I have thought really many a time the circumstance that I have been in the past, back to where I started. I grew up in the north side of Syracuse. My mother arrived in this country as an 8-year-old girl from Italy with her parents. My father was born to immigrant parents from Italy shortly after they arrived here. And my parents really started out and gave my brother and me the foundation of the very hard work ethic and an absolute requirement for integrity. But I was also blessed with a long series of teachers and mentors who I grew up with in many respects, learning things that I couldn't learn within the house. My parents were busy helping us survive and literally have a roof over our head. And it started early in the Syracuse school system. I remember well, I was in 6th grade. 2 of my teachers gave up their lunch hour for like 2 months because I was transferring out to the suburbs. I was on the half-semester schedule in the city, but it didn't have that schedule in the county, so I had to either go ahead a grade or behind a grade. Because of my grades, teachers helped me learn a little bit more so I could make the transition 1 year ahead. It was selfless, and it was something that, of course, as an 11-year-old, I didn't fully appreciate, but I look back, and it were these acts like this that just helped me get to where I am. In high school, there was absolutely nothing except encouragement and the expectation that when you succeed at the high school level, it is nothing more than going to the next step, which is college. That was an inspiration that I developed because of those kinds of kindnesses and dedications of teachers. The ultimate one was this wonderful institution giving me a scholarship that made it all possible. The environment that we have here, the learning environment, all of you are familiar with. You experienced it like me. It was a true renaissance on my part, a new beginning, a new insight. I can't stand here and not mention Father Brennan, who was the head of the physics department at the time, who was he chairman of the physics department. He was an outstanding teacher, and he was my friend. It just doesn't get any better than that. He had many sayings, many lessons. One stuck with me. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I was particularly proud of myself on a test that I got a good grade on, and looked at it, and he came up to me, and as I was looking at it, he says, "Don't admire that too much." He says, "Actually," he said, "you're intellectually lazy." And, so that put the air out of the balloon, and I said something profound like, "What do you mean?" And what he said is that you study enough just to pass the test and do well on the test. He said, you add 10% to that, and he says, you're going to understand in a manner in which you don't appreciate right now. And to remember that these many years later is a reflection of an insight that he gave me that sustained me through grad school, and indeed still affects the manner in which I approach things in my life. So the real thank you that I have is not for the recognition, although that certainly is important, but it's to thank you to this institution for doing for me what it has done and for opening doors that I did not even know existed. That's the fundamental thanks. And secondly, but certainly no less importantly, all of these wonderful accomplishments that frankly, candidly, make me a little uncomfortable to hear, but they're all made possible by family support. Now, I know people say that a lot, but I sincerely mean it. We mentioned 3 Mile Island and the work that I did. My children were all 10 and under at the time, and I was away from the home for extended periods and working that task. And that left my wife and the little kids to fend without dad. And for that, I am eternally grateful. There was never, ever a word of complaint. There was nothing but support. And nobody can accomplish anything without that kind of support. The one other thing, just to indicate, I don't see the hook coming yet, but there's one other event. I was away for 12 days during the Chernobyl response in Europe. And 12 days doesn't sound like too much, but I've thought about that many a time because within that 12-day period was a major family event. And as our oldest child started college, and all of the preparations, the excitement, the packing of the car was all done without Dad. Now, I did call the morning that the caravan was going off to school. My daughter and my wife have a lot in common. It took a couple of vehicles to move her to the campus. So I called and wished her luck, and she was the nervous, happy 17-year-old that most of the kids are when they start. And went back to my task in Austria. And then I called the next morning to see how things went. And my wife said, well, as soon as I heard that, I said, what happened? I said, well, we got about 10 miles from the house and one of the cars broke down. And she said it was dead. So they had to call a tow truck. Now, there was back in the days before cell phones, and get the car towed back to the house, unload the car. The third and last car in the family had to be reloaded, and by the time she got to the campus, she missed her freshman orientation. But they all did it, and they did it all without me there at the time. And those are the kind of things that are truly meaningful. And with that, I don't want to get the hook. I thank you all for the attention. I thank you, Dr. Pacello, for the recognition, and I am truly deeply honored.